Let me make something clear. You are not stuck because the world is unfair. You are not losing because you're unlucky. And you are not defeated because someone else has more talent. You are where you are because of how you think. Every result in your life, good or bad, began as a whisper in your mind. A single thought. A belief you didn't question. A sentence you repeated to yourself until it became your identity. That is where it all starts. Not in the economy, not in your childhood, not in your relationships, in your mind. Correct thinking is not just a tool. It's not just advice. It's the foundation of everything. It is the silent architect behind every win, every loss, every rise, every fall. And the truth most people never realize is this: your future is already under construction, right now, brick by brick, built by your thoughts. So ask yourself, what are you building? Because every thought is either laying the foundation of a prison or a palace. You see, thinking correctly is not about blind optimism. It's not about slapping a smile on your face and pretending everything is fine. That's fantasy. That's fluff. And that's not what we're here for. Correct thinking is war. It's the relentless decision to filter every thought through a standard, a vision, a mission. It's asking, does this thought move me forward or pull me back? And acting accordingly, with no hesitation. You don't allow doubt to camp in your mind and call it humility. You don't invite fear to the table and call it realism. You don't entertain excuses and call it wisdom. You think with purpose, with discipline, with force, and most of all, with awareness. Because here's the secret. The thoughts you don't control are controlling you. Most people walk through life as mental slaves, slaves to their past, slaves to their emotions, slaves to fear-drenched thoughts handed down by teachers, parents, culture, trauma. They don't think, they absorb, and they call it reality. But reality is not what happens to you. Reality is what you build with the thoughts you choose to keep. That means every single one of us has a choice right now. Today, you can either let the noise of the world sculpt your mind, or you can take the chisel in your hand and shape your own destiny. That's power. That's responsibility. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to override years of mental programming. It's hard to silence the voice that says you can't, you're not enough, you're too late. But it's harder to live with the weight of a life you never claimed, a dream you never chased, a version of you that never got the chance to breathe. So choose your heart, because correct thinking won't coddle you. It will challenge you. It will demand that you stand up when your mind screams to stay down. It will confront the stories you've told yourself, the ones that let you off the hook, the ones that justify mediocrity, and it will replace them with something stronger, something sharper, something true. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every feeling deserves a response. Not every memory deserves a seat at your table. You must learn to think like a warrior, not just to survive, but to rise. Because once you control your thoughts, you control your emotions. And once you control your emotions, you control your decisions. And your decisions become your destiny. The most dangerous thoughts are not the loud ones. They're not the ones that scream, give up, or you're worthless. No, the most dangerous ones are subtle, familiar. They sneak in disguised as caution, logic, or self-preservation. They sound like, maybe later. What if it doesn't work? I'm just being realistic. But those aren't harmless thoughts. They are termites in the structure of your future. And if you don't eliminate them, they'll rot your foundation from the inside out. Correct thinking is the cure. It's not glamorous. It's not flashy. It doesn't ask for applause, but it builds a strength inside you, so deep, so grounded, that storms no longer shake you. They sharpen you. Because while the world is watching your behavior, you're shaping your belief. Understand this. The world responds not to your appearance, not to your words, but to the vibration of your mind, your internal climate, your dominant focus. If your thoughts are saturated with doubt, your energy will repel the very things you want. If your thoughts are aligned with certainty, the world begins to bend. People will call you lucky. They'll say it must be nice. But they didn't see the war you fought inside. The war where you buried the old you. The war where you refused to let doubt make decisions. The war where you starved weakness until strength was the only voice left. You have to train your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. This isn't motivation. This is warfare. And in this war, your mind is either a weapon or a weakness. So sharpen it. Wake up every day and choose thoughts that push you forward. Feed your mind with belief before the world feeds it with noise. Visualize your future like it's already yours. See yourself winning before the scoreboard agrees. And when fear knocks, because it will answer it with action, not talk, not delay, action. Your thinking must become a strategy. No more wandering thoughts, no more mental drift, no more renting space to beliefs that don't serve the life you're building. Correct thinking is not about avoiding pain. It's about using pain. It's about turning heartbreak into hunger, turning rejection into direction, turning loss into leverage. Every successful person you admire, every name history remembers, mastered their inner world before the world ever saw their greatness. They were not born confident. They were not handed clarity. They created it. In silence, in solitude, in the trenches of their own thoughts. You think their path was smooth? No. They faced storms, setbacks, criticism, but they stayed loyal to the vision in their mind, even when reality didn't match it. That's what correct thinking does. It doesn't need evidence to believe. It doesn't ask for guarantees. It decides. And then it backs that decision with discipline. And discipline is not some rare gift. It's a muscle. It's built by saying no when your old self wants a yes. It's built by holding the vision when everyone else would fold. It's built by choosing the thought that sharpens you, even when it hurts. This is your responsibility. No one else can train your mind for you. No one else can think your thoughts. If you leave the door open, doubt will enter. If you leave the gate unguarded, fear will rule. You must protect your mind like a fortress. No more casual thoughts. No more lazy beliefs. No more low standards. You were not born to be average. You were born to think like a builder, like a creator, like a conqueror. The world bends for those who think correctly, for those who don't wait to be chosen, but choose themselves, who don't chase permission, but command results. So let the old thoughts burn. Let the old you die, and rise with new vision, new clarity, and the kind of thinking that makes every outcome inevitable. Correct thinking is a commitment, not a mood. You don't do it when it's easy. You do it especially when it's hard, when the numbers don't add up, when your progress feels invisible, when your mind is screaming for comfort and the world is offering you every excuse to step back into mediocrity. That's when you double down. You remind yourself, comfort is the trap. Discipline is the door. Weak thoughts will whisper, you've done enough. Slow down. Correct thinking answers, we're just getting started. Weak thoughts say, what if this doesn't work? Correct thinking replies, what if this changes everything? Weak thoughts ask for permission. Correct thinking takes command. This isn't about ego. This is about alignment. When your mind aligns with your mission, your energy changes, your posture changes, your decisions become faster, sharper, bolder. The fog lifts, the hesitation fades. You begin to move like someone who already knows how this ends. That's the magic of correct thinking. It's not magic at all. It's mental design. It's building belief into your system so deeply that the world has no choice but to catch up. People will say you're different now, and you'll smile because they have no idea how much you had to fight to reclaim your own mind. You had to unlearn fear. You had to silence the noise. You had to walk away from people who were committed to thinking small, even if you loved them. Not because you're better, but because you're done playing small. Correct thinking demands separation. You can't rise while surrounding yourself with people committed to shrinking. You can't think like a giant while walking with those who celebrate being average. Your environment matters, not just the people, but the mental environment you live in 24 hours a day. The thoughts you repeat, the beliefs you defend, the self-talk you whisper when nobody's listening. That internal environment is either your greatest weapon or the reason you stay stuck. So build it, design it, clean it. Every day, declutter your mind of weak thoughts. Every day, replace hesitation with certainty. Every day, rehearse the future you are building, not the failures you've survived. Because if you don't choose your thoughts, they'll be chosen for you. And the world doesn't hand out thoughts that elevate. It hands out fear, scarcity, distraction. You must become the gatekeeper of your mind. You must decide with total clarity which thoughts get to stay. Everything else, eliminate it. That's how warriors think. That's how builders create. That's how leaders rise, not by reacting to life, but by constructing their inner world with such precision that the outer world has no choice but to mirror it. You don't become unstoppable by chance. You become unstoppable when correct thinking becomes your only standard, when maybe becomes must, when someday becomes now, when your thoughts no longer ask for direction, they give it. Your transformation doesn't begin when the world changes. It begins the moment you stop thinking like the person who's waiting and start thinking like the person who creates. You don't need better luck. You don't need the perfect conditions. You don't need the stars to align. What you need is clarity and the courage to protect it. Because clarity without protection is useless. It's not enough to see the vision. You must fight for it with every thought, every decision, every day. Correct thinking is not polite. It doesn't apologize for cutting off distraction. It doesn't hesitate to silence voices that sow doubt, even if those voices are people you've known for years. It doesn't seek validation from people who've never built what you're building. Correct thinking is ruthless with anything that weakens the mission. And yes, that includes the old version of you, the version that needed external permission, the version that said yes to things that drained you, the version that kept dreaming but never moved. That version has to go, because the new you, the real you, cannot rise while the old one is still making decisions. There comes a point where your thoughts have to catch up to your calling, where your beliefs finally match your potential, where you stop negotiating with fear and start making non-negotiable decisions based on purpose. Correct thinking is the art of choosing your future over your feelings. Your feelings may scream, "I'm tired." Your thoughts respond, "But I'm trained." Your feelings say, "This is too risky." Your thoughts answer, "But I'm ready." You don't move from emotion, you move from decision. You don't rise because you feel like it. You rise because you've trained your mind to command it. This is what separates people who stay in cycles from people who break them. The ones who stay stuck think about what might go wrong. The ones who rise think about what must go right. That's why correct thinking isn't reactive. It's creative. You're not just responding to life. You're building it, brick by bit, thought by thought. And each thought must pass a test. Does it serve the vision? Does it align with my standard? Does it bring me closer to the life I said I would build? If the answer is no, it goes. There's no room for polite doubt, no space for casual complaining, no tolerance for mental clutter. You must treat your thoughts like currency. Every one you spend moves you towards something, either your mission or your misery. So spend wisely. Invest in clarity. Deposit focus. Withdraw anything that drains your belief. Your mind is your headquarters. It's your war room. And if you don't take control of it, the world will, and it will fill it with just enough fear, just enough distraction, just enough limitation to keep you obedient to a life far beneath your potential. But not anymore. From this moment forward, you think like a builder. You think like a leader. You think like someone who knows the power of their thoughts and refuses to waste them. Every time you think with intention, you cast a vote for the future you're becoming. Every time you speak with conviction, you cement that identity. And every time you act in alignment with that vision, no matter how small the step, you bend reality in your favor. That's the truth most never see. Success is not built in public applause. It's built in private repetition. You don't need the world to see it yet. You need to see it so clearly in your mind that the world has no choice but to adjust to your belief. That's how champions are made. Not when the light is on, but when no one's watching. When the old thoughts are screaming and you choose silence over noise. When the doubts come back and you don't negotiate, you neutralize. When the old identity wants back in and you slam the door without apology. You don't rise by accident. You rise because your thinking no longer allows you to remain small. Correct thinking becomes your internal compass, and when you follow it long enough, it becomes second nature. Your energy changes, your posture sharpens. You walk differently, speak differently, decide faster, wait less, execute more. Because the person you used to be no longer has a voice in the life you're now building. Let that sink in. You don't owe the old version of you anything. The one who delayed. The one who apologized. The one who played small so others could feel comfortable. That version isn't coming with you. You buried them when you chose to think correctly. Correct thinking doesn't beg for transformation. It becomes it. And when you live like this, people won't understand. They'll say, "You've changed." And they'll be right. Because you stopped letting your thoughts wander. You stopped letting your emotions lead. You stopped giving energy to everything that didn't deserve to live in your mind. You're not addicted to comfort anymore. You're addicted to clarity. You're not seeking praise. You're seeking alignment. You don't need motivation. You have momentum. And that momentum was built thought by thought, belief by belief, decision by decision. This is the power most will never experience, because they never do the mental work required to claim it. They chase new strategies, new tools, new tricks, all while dragging around the same old thinking. And then they wonder why nothing sticks. But you're done with that. You've tasted clarity. And once you do, anything less feels toxic. So now you guard it, you protect it, you choose it. Every single day, because you understand, it's not just about success, it's about who you must become to hold it. And you don't become that person without correct thinking. You don't stay that person without mental discipline. You don't build a legendary life with average thoughts running the show. This is your season of sharpening. This is your time to take the raw material of thought and forge it into belief, so strong it silences every voice of fear. Correct thinking doesn't wait, it commands. And now, so do you. Correct thinking is the difference between temporary motivation and permanent transformation. Motivation might get you started, but correct thinking keeps you going when it's not fair, when it's not fun, when no one claps and no one sees. It keeps your fire alive when the world goes cold. Because correct thinking is not about hype. It's about ownership. It says no more waiting, no more hoping, no more giving power to excuses dressed up as reasons. It says, I am not available for weakness. I am not interested in comfort. I am not open to anything that doesn't align with the life I'm building. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. Because when your thinking is aligned, your emotions become tools, not traps. Your discipline becomes fuel, not force. Your vision becomes so vivid that fear starts to feel irrelevant. You don't wake up wondering how you feel anymore. You wake up remembering who you are. And who are you? You are a builder, a designer of destiny, a soldier of thought who refuses to surrender to mediocrity just because the world gave you permission to. Most people are starving for direction because they're overdosing on distraction. They scroll, they compare, they complain, then they wonder why they feel lost. But direction doesn't come from the outside, it comes from correct thinking. You want clarity? Start thinking thoughts that eliminate fog, thoughts that are sharp, not soft, thoughts that cut away the noise and focus on what must be done. You want freedom? Start thinking thoughts that break patterns, thoughts that don't loop in circles but drive you forward like a bullet toward your target. You want peace? Start thinking thoughts that reinforce your power, not your problems. Peace isn't found by running from chaos. It's built by mastering your internal battlefield. And you do that by thinking differently than the world taught you to. You've been conditioned to think in fear, to shrink your dreams, to wait until someone else sees your value before you act like it's real. But correct thinking flips that. You don't wait for proof anymore. You become it. You think as if your vision is already realized. You speak as if it's already true. You act as if there's no alternative but victory. That's not delusion. That's design. Because every great life is built twice. Once in the mind, then in the world. And most people never see the second one because they never finished building the first. They abandon the blueprint too early. They let wrong thinking convince them to scale back the design. They let fear redraw the plan with smaller rooms, lower ceilings, and no windows. But you're not scaling back. You're building taller. You're adding wings. You're opening space. You're filling your mental blueprint with abundance, precision, because that's what correct thinking gives you: architectural authority over your own life. You are not here to rent your thoughts to fear. You are not here to lease your vision to public opinion. You are here to own your mind, to own your mission, to own your future. And now, there is a version of you waiting on the other side of every lie you've ever believed. The lie that says you're too late. The lie that says you're too broken. The lie that says people like you don't win. But those are not true. They're echoes. Echoes of past failures, old conditioning, and small thinking you never chose but somehow inherited. Correct thinking is how you sever the tie. It's how you say, that may have been my story, but it's not my sentence. Because you are not your failures. You are not your past. You are the thinker behind it all, and the thinker can choose again, right now. You want transformation? Then begin here. Refuse to let one more thought that doesn't serve you live rent-free in your mind. Question everything. Question the idea that you're not qualified. Question the belief that you're too old. Question the narrative that your time is past. Because most of what's holding you back was planted in your mind without your permission. And now it's your job to remove it on purpose. You see, transformation isn't always about gaining something new. It's about removing what never belonged there and what doesn't belong. Doubt, shame, fear, excuses, limitation, none of those are yours. They're borrowed, and they've expired. Correct thinking means you stop renting space to weakness. You stop calling fear caution and start calling it what it is, a thief. You stop dancing around your mission and finally move with authority. This is how elevation begins. Not with applause, not with praise, but with quiet, deliberate, defiant thought. The thought that says, I don't care what it looks like. I know what it's becoming. The thought that says, I don't need evidence to believe. Belief is how I create evidence. The thought that says, I'm done explaining my hunger to people who've never been starving. This is the language of correct thinking. It doesn't defend. it decides. It doesn't argue, it acts. And when you live in that kind of mental clarity long enough, you become a force, not because life got easier, but because your mind got stronger. So let the old ideas fall. Let the small thinking suffocate under the weight of your new standard. Let every sentence in your mind be filtered through one question. Does this thought lead me closer to who I'm becoming, or drag me back to who I used to be? If it weakens you, it goes. If it empowers you, it stays. That's the gate. That's the key. That's correct thinking. You were not sent here to repeat patterns. You were sent here to break them. You were not made to echo the thoughts of the world. You were made to build thoughts the world can't ignore. That's what correct thinking does. It doesn't conform. It commands. It doesn't copy. It creates. It doesn't ask for permission. It rewrites the rules with every belief it holds, every action it inspires, every reality it demands into existence. Because correct thinking isn't about what you want. It's about who you decide to be long before the results show up, long before the door opens, long before anyone else believes. You believe first. You hold the vision while everything around you is silent, shaky, or screaming that it's impossible. You carry that picture in your mind like it's law, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You see, results don't come from luck. They come from alignment. They come when your mind, your voice, your habits, your energy all say the same thing. That's the work. Not just thinking good thoughts, not just journaling or meditating or visualize, but aligning your entire identity with the image you refuse to let go of. Correct thinking becomes your compass, your anchor, your engine, and your armor. It makes you calm in chaos, clear in confusion, grounded when everything around you is spinning, because your mind isn't reacting anymore. It's leading. And when you become a leader of your mind, the world begins to follow, not because it owes you anything, but because it always mirrors what you consistently believe. That's the final truth most people never discover. You don't get what you want. You don't even get what you work for. You get what you believe you are. And belief is not emotion. It is repetition, discipline, focus, precision. It's the choice to repeat the image until the mirror reflects it back, until the body obeys, until the world adjusts. This is the beginning of everything you were built for. This is how every new level is unlocked. This is where greatness begins, not in a strategy, not in a hack, not in a secret trick, but in a single thought, chosen on purpose, repeated with power, held with fire, until the old identity dies in its shadow. From this moment forward, you don't wait to feel ready. You don't wait for applause. You don't wait for proof. You think correctly. You choose thoughts that build. You eliminate thoughts that weaken. You guard your mind like a soldier. You build your future like an architect. You lead your life like a general. And when the world sees your results, they'll call it talent. They'll call it timing. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck. It was thinking. Correct, relentless, non-negotiable thought. This is your edge, your weapon, your responsibility. So think like your life depends on it, because it does.